Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the channel. It is round 6 of the Tata Steel Masters, and we have a runaway leader. Somehow, the results fell perfectly for one of these players to have a full point advantage. I need to adjust the camera. There's Steve in the background. Anyway, we've got the first game. The world champion and the man who has said that Gukesh will lose the world championship in the next match, Nordebek Abdusatorov. e4, e5, knight f3, knight to c6, bishop to b5, the Spanish game. Now we get a6, main line, Morpheus defense, bishop to a4, knight to f6, short castles, bishop e7, and bishop takes. Now this has been seen in a few games, namely the World Championship match between Jan Nepomniachtchi and Ding Liren. Just a fun fact for you. It's not the main line, but we get takes, and now d3. Knight drops back to d7, knight to c3, short castles, bishop to e3, rook e8, and now a4, employing every Spanish game known game plan. a5, king h1. Now we've got one game left in the database, and it features one of the players in this tournament, Johan van Foreest, and he won the position with the white pieces. But given Gukesh's time, I don't think he knows about that game. So, black is very passive, very passive, but no tangible weaknesses. It is up to white to prove that this is winning. So we get bishop to d6, now no games left in the database. That Johan van Foreest game went bishop to b4 to attack the knight over here. Anyway, so bishop d6 was played. Now rook to knight to e2, knight to f8, knight to g3, and c5. And now we do actually have a game in the database. They reached this by transposition Kirill Shevchenko, who's recently been banned for cheating. So maybe it's not good that we've reached this position. Anyway, c5, knight to d2. The Spanish is a very maneuvering game. Knight to e6, knight to f5. Bishop drops back to f8, and now we get knight to c4. f6, queen g4. White's got a simple plan. They're going to checkmate black. King h8, queen g3, b6, h4. You've got nothing else to do. Now, Nordebek is doing everything he can, but Gukesh is actually slightly better. Like, white hasn't got a tangible advantage. They're going and they're playing very aggressively in Nordebek's true fashion, but there's no weaknesses. This is all very solid. And even though Gukesh doesn't necessarily have piece activity, he's still fine. As we get h4, now g6, knight at h6, queen d7, knight to g4, and now bishop g7. And where's the weakness? What are you going to do? Now we get a6, and this beautiful idea, bishop to a6, looking to perhaps trade off for the knight, damage the white structure, and just kind of nullify the game. Now b3, rook a d8, and now h5. Gotta go for it, really. If they take, what? So Gukesh takes. What's the idea? Knight h6. This is the idea. But now remove this knight from the board. B takes c4 is a good move. Now bishop takes, and rook to g8. Gukesh is slightly better, and he might lose this, but he's not worse. We get this. Now knight to f4, bishop takes, pawn takes, and now g4. Very brave move, you know, because en passant's a thing, which gets played, and now a fork is threatened, so you have to play king g2, now queen d4, rook ae1, king g7, e5. Game is a draw, apparently. According to the engineer in this position, game's a draw. But it's really difficult when both kings are so weak. Check, king, rook blocks, now queen here, and rook g5 loses on the spot. A one-move blunder. It is now checkmate in 10. Gukesh has a lot of drawing moves here, so I'm very surprised that he blundered. With 8 minutes on the clock, look, it's not easy, but rook f8, f takes e5, queen c3, rook g8, and queen b2, all hold, if not more. This loses for one move only, and that's queen takes f6. And Gukesh resigns because king g8 Queen takes g5. There's no way to defend the rook. And I'm going to push the pawn, I'm going to bring the other rook, and I'm just going to mate you. Unbelievable. We now move on to some people's favorite chess player, Hans Niemann, and to other people's favorite chess player, Vincent Keimer. Two players in good form. Hans started the tournament alright, but he's been a bit quiet ever since. Vincent looking to try and assert himself. e4, e5, knight f3, knight f6, and now bishop to c4. Hans Niemann loves the Italian game. Knight to f6. Now you and I would play knight to g5. What does Hans go for? d3, the main line. Bishop to c5, short castles, d6, c3, a5, rook e1, h6, knight bd2, short castles, h3, a4, knight f1, bishop d7, d4. If I go and check the database, you will be surprised to hear that there are games in the database. The top game being Maxime Vachier-Lagrave versus Wesley. So this is all theory. This is what the players know. Bishop to b6. Now knight to g3, rook to e8, bishop to f1. Black has more than equalized this position, and it's actually Hans, the expert in this opening, spending time. Bishop to c8, now no games in the database. So this is not a move that is played. The moves I've got here in the database are a3, queen b8, which is, a thing. Garry Kasparov's played like that, and knight to a5. Those are the three moves I have in the database, which composes of 4 games. The move bishop to c8, I cannot explain to you. I didn't even see the live broadcast, so I can't even tell you what the commentator said. I've got no idea looking at it, but I'm sure the plan will show itself eventually. Now the bishop goes to b5, and now bishop d7. What? Also, look at Hans Niemann's time. 1 hour 50, he spends 20 minutes after bishop to c8, because it's so absurd. And yeah, Vincent just goes, my bad, bishop d7 again. It's White's move. It's the same position, but White got 2 free turns, and Hans goes bishop f1. And here they could repeat moves and make a draw with bishop c8, but no, a3. Hans wants to continue to play the game. Bishop d7. Vincent's like, I don't need to touch any more of my pieces. I'm just happy to play bishop c8, bishop d7. Sorry, I didn't mean to go all the way back, and I do apologize. So we'll just fast forward through all the moves. It's unbelievable. So we get queen d3, knight a5, bishop to e3, but now knight b3. And Vincent's actually better. Because Hans selected to continue to play, Vincent's actually slightly better. Rook a d1, now takes, bishop takes, knight takes, pawn takes. Very brave decision, by the way, to give up the bishop. You could here play c takes d4, and now knight takes e4, knight takes e4 is the idea. Then knight takes e4, bishop f5, and then you would play knight fd2, and you would try and defend this position, but there's, knight takes d2, bishop takes d2, and so on. It gets very tactical. So to give up the bishop is the best engine move, but it's really difficult to surrender 2 bishops. And now to play d5, because this dark squared bishop lives forever. It's got no counterpart. So bishop c8 again. Vincent just loves playing bishop to c8, and he's got a time advantage. Queen to c2, rook a5, bishop to c4. Now knight d7. You push this pawn, and now these 2 squares are weaknesses that my knight can go and exploit. Not to mention my rook can go and exploit. King h2, knight to e5. We take knight, pawn takes, and now queen d2. Now queen d6, rook to f1, rook to c5, bishop to d3, bishop to d7, king h1. How do you break through? Rook to a5, bishop to c2, rook to a8. What has Vincent done with his pieces? He's just done nothing the whole game. We've played 31 moves, they've done nothing. Knight to e2, rook to e7. What is the plan? Bishop to 3. Now rook a5 again. What is it with Vincent just doing this? And yet, ladies and gentlemen, this is the genius. I would say this is one of Vincent Keimer's best games. You're not going to believe it, but in a few moves, he forces Hans to do something. f4. This is not so much like a positional masterclass as it's a psychological masterclass. f4, not the correct move. Pawn takes, rook takes. Now bishop to c5. Just a quiet move. Just moving the piece one square. e5. Queen takes e5, but now my knight gets to e4. Bishop to e7, and now d6. It's not the first mistake that gets you, it's the second one. Pawn takes, queen f2, but now d5. Everything is beginning to fall apart for Hans Niemann. Everything, his whole position has fallen apart. He loses a pawn. Vincent Keimer is up 3 pawns. We get knight f5. Bishop takes, rook takes. Now queen grabs. Vincent Keimer is just up 4 pawns. Queen d4, and now queen c5. Slight inaccuracy from Vincent, but understandable in time pressure. Queen takes f4, but now bishop c7. Another quiet move. And just quietly, as if like a ghost, we trade, and he's just up 3 pawns in this endgame. And this endgame would take I don't even think Magnus could hold this with white. It is such a difficult endgame to defend. You've got the opposite colored bishops, and after rook b2, Hans Niemann resigns the game. And now we go to becoming one of my favorite players. Yegiz Khan Erdoğmes, the Turkish prodigy, and Jon van Foreest. e4, e5, knight f3, knight c6, and knight to c3. And when you see the 4 knights, I have told you before, expect a draw. A very quick draw. Not today. We get h3. Bishop to b4. Now bishop to d3. Looks so stupid, but you can play like this. Short castles. Takes, pawn takes. It's weird, because you would think you take here and then you try to build the big center. No. D takes is fine. a5, bishop to e3. It's weird. In a 4 knights game, on move 8, no games in the database. Both players spending time, but they've taken each other out of theory. Now, the question is, you're in a dark wood, and 2 plus 2 does not equal 4 anymore. What do you do? As the players begin to try and get to terms with this. Look at this knight. It could take the bishop. You could nullify the 2 bishops advantage that you've given to Yegiz. Also, you don't have to do anything. White can give it up voluntarily. White can put the knight here. This bishop is could be taken at any point. And you've got all this play here on the queen side. It is so complicated. It is such a rich position. h6. Now knight goes out to b5. Pawn takes. We fixed our structure. But now I take the bishop. Queen takes. And now look at that. Knight to c5. Beautiful move. Now queen f3. And now f6. Now knight to c3. Queen e7. Rook ae1. Queen f7. Queen g3. You have a lot of pawns on dark squares. I perhaps would like to sacrifice my bishop, or just stop you from being able to move any of your pawns forward. And maybe I want to plant my knight in the center, but this is weak. This is constantly got to be monitored. Can you take this? So we first play queen h5, and now look at this. I break e5, a move that looks impossible. Takes, but bishop takes. You might say, wait, hang on, that's the sacrifice of a bishop. Why don't you take the bishop? Why don't you take this bishop? Because you lose, because rook takes e5 is a fork. You have to play queen takes e5. Queen takes e5, and hope for knight takes b3. And the point is, a takes b3. Now bishop takes c4. Discovered check, rook hanging. This is the line that you've got to see. So queen g5. Queen takes, pawn takes, and now bishop here. So Yegiz is now its equal material. Knight to d3, rook to e3. Now knight to b4. Surely this pawn must die. It's just been hanging, like the whole game. Nah. Well, it hasn't been, actually. Sorry. Knight's defending it. What am I talking about? Knight to b5. Bishop to d7. Rook takes, and now we get here. We take a pawn. You can take this one, but I have split your structure. And this structure is also terrible. So in the long term, I might be able to grind out a comfortable position as they now approach time control. And I move 34. A slight inaccuracy from Jon van Foreest, and Yegiz Khan is winning. Now he gives away some of the advantage, rook ad1. Bishop c6, he takes here, but now rook to b2. Surely everything liquidates and it's a draw. But no, we keep playing. And rook, king f7. On the precipice of time control. Move 37. King f7 loses to one move only. And he misses it. Here, Yegiz had to go full Gotham chess and sacrifice the rook. rook takes g7, because if king takes g7, there's a fork. King would move up, I would take the bishop, and you would win this endgame. But he misses it. He plays rook takes g5, and now there's rook takes b3, and now the fork does not exist anymore. So check, and king goes the wrong way. Here, you've got two choices. You've got a couple of choices. So you've got king e7, king e8, king g7, king... Okay, king can't go there. Okay, so let's undo that. Okay, and you can go here. You can't go there either. These are your three moves. To win, to lose. You go the wrong way. King g6 holds, king g8 holds. King e7 does not, because of bishop to c5. King moves out the way, and now knight e6 check, and we go here. We attack the rook. Check here, you can take, but I give check. I get the knight in, and I go here. And mate is borderline unstoppable. And Genghis Khan wins. And so now we change the view, and we look at live table. As soon as I pull it up. I don't know what's going on here. Okay, so this is the end of the game. And these are the standings. Nurdebek Abdusattorov, after his win, has now a clean half-point advantage. Yakovar Shandarev is on 4 points. Vladimir Fedoseev, Hans Niemann, and Vincent Keimer are all tied for effectively third place on 3.5 points. Then there are a lot of players on 3, that being Genghis Khan Dokhmas, Matthias Blubom, Gukesh Damaraju, Jon van Foresten, Arjun Ergaisi, and in the rear of the table, the bottom 4 players all on 2 points, Arvind, Gukesh, Pragdananda, and Tai Dai Nguyen. So it is Nurdebek Abdusattorov who leads the way after 6 rounds at Tata Steel.